When the 1980s came around, roller coasters were being built all around again. In 1981, Aerodynamics produced the first ever suspended roller coaster called the Bat at Kings Island, which, by the way, is not the same roller coaster as the Bat that they have today. However, it was plagued with technical difficulties, and despite its popularity, Kings Island closed it in 1984, and it was replaced with Vortex in 1987. Aerodynamics also debuted the first two stand-up coasters in 1983 in Six Flags St. Louis, which was then called Six Flags Mid-America, and 1984 at Worlds of Fun. However, both of these rides were plagued with technical difficulties as well, and a woman died on the ride at Six Flags St. Louis, and they were both reverted to sit-down roller coasters. In 1982, the very first Vekoma Boomerang was installed at Reino Aventura, and today it is the most replicated coaster design in the world. Originally, it was meant to be a roller coaster that smaller parks would get because it was inexpensive, it had a small footprint, and they could say they had a multi-looping steel roller coaster. But eventually, some of the bigger theme park chains started buying them so that they could say they added a new steel roller coaster without having to spend the money to buy a new big roller coaster. Before the end of the 80s, Aerodynamics had created dozens of multi-looping steel roller coasters. A few examples of these being the Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Great Adventure, Vortex at Kings Island, and Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. However, the biggest surprise to everyone was when Cedar Point debuted the first ever hypercoaster, Magnum XL 200. This was a game changer for the roller coaster industry, because not only was it the first coaster over 200 feet, but it also featured a classic wooden roller coaster layout, yet it was made of steel. Before the end of the 80s, a medium-sized wooden roller coaster called the Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun was built. While this roller coaster was nothing special, it helped set the stage for the massive wooden roller coasters that would later be built in the early to mid-90s, such as the Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas and Mean Streak at Cedar Point.